Turkey has taken delivery of the first parts of the S-400 missile defense systems brought from Russia. Ankara's move is in defiance of U.S. opposition, and news of the missile's arrival looks set to infuriate the White House. Well, Turkey's defense ministry says the S-400 consignment has been delivered to an airbase outside the capital, Ankara. It expects other parts to be sent over the coming days. The US and other NATO allies are concerned the S-400s could compromise NATO's defense systems. Washington has threatened sanctions against Turkey over the deal. Well, for more on what this means for NATO, I'm joined now from Istanbul by journalist Christina Jovanovski. Christina, why is Turkey taking the risk of running the wrath of the United States over this deal?
Analysts say that this is part of the Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan's efforts at a balancing act between the East and the West. Now, he doesn't want to leave NATO, and NATO, the US, doesn't want Turkey to lead the alliance, but seemingly he feels that in order for Turkey to become a more independent actor in the region, that it needs to not completely depend on the US, on the West for their defense. The coup attempt that happened almost 3 years ago was probably an example of that. The Turkish government says that no NATO country stepped in while it had to defend itself, and it was a violent coup, killing about 250 people. But aside from this, Russia is also just a necessary partner to Turkey. Russia provides a significant amount of the energy needs for Turkey, and it has to deal with Russia in countries like Syria. Even though Russia has opposing interests, these are two countries that are on opposing sides in Syria, Russia still has the upper hand. One example, it can unleash an attack in northern Syria in a region called Idlib, sending hundreds of thousands of Syrians towards Turkey and putting a lot of domestic pressure on the country and on Erdogan, who's had to deal with about 3 million Syrian refugees. That's just one example of how Russia is a necessary player for Turkey, but Erdogan seems to be trying to use Putin to sort of have this balancing act and not depend so much on the West and the US.
Can we actually have confidence, perhaps that's the wrong word to say, when we're talking about the United States, that it's going to carry out its threat and impose sanctions on Turkey? And if so, what could that mean?
It does seem likely that sanctions will happen. It's up to Congress to send these sanctions out. Donald Trump, the U.S. president, does have some say in this. And Turkey probably felt like it was going to be protected after Trump had apparently made some warm words towards Erdogan. Erdogan said that Turkey wasn't going to deal with these sanctions, but during a G20 summit, Trump had said that Turkey was being treated unfairly. However, the U.S. deal later clarified that it was indeed concerned about this deal. One of the aspects that makes it so controversial is that Turkey was supposed to get these very expensive fighter jets from the U.S., F-35 fighter jets, and the U.S. was worried that if Russian weapons were used alongside these U.S. fighter jets, then that would somehow allow Russia to understand the technology behind the fighter jets and then compromise this very expensive fighter jet system. Now, the U.S. has started kicking Turkey out of that program. That's just one example of the fallout from what Turkey will be facing. So now we're going to have to figure out whether or not sanctions will also be part of that punishment.